So, Jono, you've been out the back. Gerard tells me you've been shaking your head at a few things that have been said.
Where do you want to start?
I want to start with Petracca first. I'm not shocked. Disappointed is the word. And not that I care, but Melbourne should be disappointed and their supporters should be disappointed that Petracca is not there on best and fairest night with everything that's gone on. Your thoughts?
No, I think he gets this one. And look, I've always been a fan of the best and fairest night. It is a closure on the season, and you're right.
You won 5, didn't you?
No, only a couple. Westy was winning them all.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
that's true.
He was pinching them all.
He had
Yeah.
seven of them, 10 between us. So but no, it was. And so I think he gets with everything he's been through. I think the way that he feels that he needs to set himself up for the pre-season is the most important aspect of this. So
voice of reason.
He gets one, and look, the best and fairest night is as I was saying, it's a good night. It's closure. It is Kane. I agree with you. It is the step from the coach to start to plant the seed of what should be expected as you walk in the door over the pre-season. But to be honest with you, I can't remember one coach speech from a best and fairest night. So look, I haven't got a problem with it, and obviously the timing is the aspect that he obviously has to get over there for a certain period. Don't know whether he's leaving. He's probably leaving a week before. It might be 2 weeks, and they're already by the time he leaves, that's 5 weeks into his 8 to 10 week break anyway. So
October 4 is a late best and fairest.
It's a late best and fairest for a non-finalist.
Absolutely.
Normally you have a contingency where okay, if you don't play finals, you've got that second date locked in.
Yeah.
And I know it went right down to the wire, but you still have those couple of dates normally on hand, but it mightn't have been the case for the D's.
After
D's,
players would be overseas, would be flying back in for it.
Well, some will. would have already had some more trips along.
The winner will.
Small trips. Yeah, the winner will make sure
Maybe.
that he's there. But look, honestly, Cornesy, I don't have a.
Okay, so
that's
that's
2-1. I'm 2-1. I'm 2-1 here tonight on Sports Day. Jack Darling to North Melbourne.
Once again, I understand why North Melbourne have chased a player like Jack Darling for a 2-year period. It's a 2-year period to put someone next to Larkey, which I heard the caller talk about before, and I agree with that. And it allows some other players to probably play a more reasonable role for their size and stature than what they've had to probably do for North Melbourne over the last couple of years. So it is a 2-year filler to allow North Melbourne to see what comes in behind Nick Larkey over the next couple of years, because that's what they need to develop and find is that next key forward. And all the good teams, majority of the good teams in this competition have 2 or 3 gun keys at the moment with the way the game is played, and I can't see that changing over the next couple of years.
That's another loss for you, Kane. I think there's going to be a recount. There's going to be a recount of the Alf Brown if you keep this up.
You both make great points around one club, 300 games, and all of that. But the reality is, it's changed. Everything's changed in all that thinking that we've had for so long, and we can still try and push it and believe it. But the reality is, the players don't, and they'll move to suit what suits their career now, rather than what suits the club or standing at a club.
Yeah, I guess my overriding opinion, and sorry to be blunt on this, but I will be, Jack Darling.
I have to apologise.
Jack Darling is not good enough to be in an AFL side right now, and I think he's the wrong choice for North Melbourne. And I think there are better choices, slightly younger, with a little bit more football left in them. Even go and raid the Giants for the key forwards that aren't playing there. Try all that first. Go and try and get a 24, 25-year-old Brown or Riccardi.
I'd be surprised if they haven't tried that, though, Cornesy. Because
they need to find somebody.
The due diligence there is exactly the way that you're talking. I agree with that. You have to look at those scenarios before you probably get to that endpoint. They might have had a list of 10, and he might have been 10th on the list, but they get their 10. They get their number 10. So, look, his career, yes, has dropped away. 26 goals, 22 goals the last 2 years. Before that, it was 40s and 50s. So we see that we have seen the drop-off in that. But
so just to commit you to something objective here, Kane, What's the pass mark for Jack Darling next year?
Well, he's got to be better than he's been the last 2 seasons.
Right. So just any improvement?
So, pluck me a stat, get me Hoyney's rankings. If Hoyney can text us right now where Jack Darling has rated in the competition, amongst the other key forwards, or send him a text message in the ad break, there needs to be a significant uplift on that. Not necessarily, like, obviously you'd love him to kick 35 goals. I would have thought he kicked 34 in 2022 if he can replicate sort of those numbers.
Okay, let's call 30 an even mark.
How often do we see players swap clubs like a Jack Darling and their sugar hit early is quite strong, so their first year? Because it's something fresh for them as well. Cornes, he's obviously going through the negativity of where West Coast have been the last couple of years, and obviously I understand where he's going to here, so don't get me wrong in terms of where North Melbourne sit in the competition as well, but we don't know what's going on behind closed doors for Jack Darling and his own motivation and what he needs to finish off his career. And obviously North Melbourne are going to provide a spark potentially for him to finish strongly.
You can continue to have your say on that. Send us a text 0433 90 11 16. Jono wouldn't mind taking a call or two from you on the Harcourts open line either if you want to join in the conversation. Matty Kennedy at the Blues. How have you seen this unfold from the moment he was subbed in the final to the club, I guess, giving him permission to explore his options in the off-season?
It just surprised me when I was listening today and just heard the conversations around Matt Kennedy and been told to go and explore some options elsewhere. When I look at Matt Kennedy and his year so far this year, it's been outstanding. Like, it's been his best year of football throughout his entire career. So you have your best year in terms of numbers, games played, and you get told at the end of that year that go and look elsewhere.
Maybe Carlton have worked out that they're just 2-1 pace through the middle of the ground.
Maybe they are, but what he's achieved this year in the Navy Blue is a lot more than half the list has achieved in the Navy Blue. Mm-hmm. So
I love him as a player, because I just think.
So where does he go, Kane? Because he's obviously out of Carlton.
Yeah, so I put him into a Sydney, or I mean, we go the obvious ones always, but I put him into Sydney and he's row bottom, right? Like he's that type. I put him into Geelong, he's Atkins, and he's in there and he's an important.
Could he go to Adelaide?
Yeah, I wonder whether their midfield is a bit one-paced as well. But look, see, this is the type of player North Melbourne should be. These are the types of players with 4 or 5 years left. They're going to drive the standards. Every time the footy is on the ground, you know they're going to put their head over it. If you need him to go and play forward and kick you a goal, he will. I've seen him do that. He's versatile. He's tough. He can take a mark. Yeah, he's rough around the edges and he's not the perfect player, but like he's Jared Berry at Brisbane, really. Like that's the type of player that he is.
424 disposals, Cornes. He kicks 16, can kick 25 in a year, I think. 81 tackles, both facets of the game. So, yeah, I think
could Tom Green and him play in the same team?
Yes. But he will. This is the thing, right? So Carlton want him to see him as a half forward, and that's probably part of the discussion with this.
Yeah.
He needs to understand.
He sees himself as a mid.
He does, but he's got to understand as well that it's got to be a combination. Him to be successful in the AFL world has to be a combination player, mid, half forward. And there will be games when he gets more inside mid time than half forward time, and there will games where it'll be reverse. So as long as he starts to understand that in his own mind, that he's going to have to play both roles, that may give him longevity as well, that he'll be successful somewhere else.
Okay. Let's move on quickly because I know you want to do a deep dive on particularly Port Adelaide and Sydney. Jake Stringer, what's going on with the Jake?
No idea what's happening on with the Jake. Have you got something there, Cornesy, to lead us into?
With the Jake, there's an article today on the Herald Sun about Essendon having a warning about some of the company that AFL players are keeping, and the two players named are Jake Stringer and Nick Hine. Now Nick Hine's no longer there, but these associates of Stringer and Hine have been into the change room multiple times. And the AFL, the headline is revealed AFL integrity warns Dons over players' associates. I just wonder for Jake, who's exploring his options right now, clearly it's not a great look. And clearly if you're another club and you're thinking, already he's a bit of a risk, Jake. Like Essendon only want to give him 1 year for a reason. Are you going to spend big money in multiple years on Jake Stringer with already the concerns that you got? Now add this story onto it, and I don't know the accuracy of it. It's a Mark Robinson piece, and clearly there's some information that he has got. Would you take the risk on Jake, or will he have to go back with his tail between his legs to the Bombers after this? Just another sort of red flag and warning on top of everything else.
Well, yeah, it is obviously the AFL coming out and Robbo writing that article. There's something there. He has to do everything right to create some, an end to his career. He just has to do absolutely everything 100% right. And if he can commit to that, then there's a spot for him somewhere. If
It
he
must be a
can't,
red
he
flag
can't.
for him, that fact that he's potentially got one club interested, potentially. And a couple that were said to be interested are no longer interested.
They're out. And we saw the Mitch Cleary story last week on Channel 7 just about the clubs that he'd spoken to, concerned about the behind-the-goals vision and his lack of defensive action. So just the second paragraph, it's believed the Bombers, who were warned to be aware of a group of associates of recently delisted bomber Nick Hind, who was also known to have shared friendship group with teammate Jake Stringer. It's believed the associates regularly attend SEN matches and were seen in the Bombers' rooms on more than once this season. It goes on to detail Jake's information that he'd spoken to the Herald Sun about this year, just in terms of his faith and all that type of thing. But just another red flag, and I just wonder whether Jake just is going to have to suck it up, like I think he should have in the first instance, taken that one-year deal, makes a statement, one of those pre-season statements, has a huge year, and then goes back to the negotiating table, and then demands 2 years. I don't think that is out of the possibilities. Let's get on to Friday night. Jono, Healy last night, he was pretty glowing, wasn't he, Gerard of Port Adelaide?
I absolutely love their pressure. Had a first time I reckon Healy's had a bit of a bet each way.
Yeah,
Can they sustain the pressure, I think, is the
Good question.
manufactured pressure versus second week up, have to do it again. And how often have we seen throughout time that a team that has to manufacture it the way they did last week, and that was perfect. The way that,
But Healy's point was they've done it 7 out of 8 weeks, Jono.
yeah, I understand that, but I think they're also a little bit more beaten up than what their opposition are as well, and that becomes
Or
more
are they
difficult.
hardened?
No, the other
Or
way.
are they
No,
hardened?
no, they're not. They're not hardened. They are. I think there's some physical things that have happened, like cramps to Horn Francis and obviously the two players that they've got out, which are hurting their flow at the moment. So having to do with things a little bit differently and with a bit more intensity to respond from the Geelong game. And having lived it, I think I can see some similarities to just how they're starting to sort of really be as players physically.
King Charlie coming in.
I think he comes in, but he kicked 3 against the Swans last time they played.
Yeah.
So I think that helps with the decision-making around King Charlie and what he may be able to offer at the SCG.
Is there
Ollie
any-
Lord, any chance, Kane?
No chance
No
for
chance.
Ollie, unfortunately. It's been disappointing.
What
his
about
drop
next
off.
year? There's a suggestion
this
that
season.
Lukosius may be going there. Ollie Lord looks a player to me.
He has. I was all in
Yep,
on him. He
I
had
am.
a good final series last year. He's got great height.
Injured
but
this year, though, wasn't he?
Injured early this year and hasn't
Does
been able to
Lukosius
find the
potentially
form.
go as a half forward, or does he go as a half back?
I don't know how Port get Lukosius in. They got no draft picks.
I don't think
mean,
they're
I know
gonna
that-
need one.
I know Houston.
I don't think they're
Who's
going
he,
to need
who's he
one, Kane.
fighting
Think.
for a spot then? He's fighting Burn Jones.
Yeah, I
as
mean,
for a spot.
He just plays. He's Todd Marshall. The concerns he just takes Todd Marshall's spot, Jono. Like
Yep.
to
Yeah,
be
with the concerns he has.
as concerning
Health,
as that
yep.
is for Port Adelaide. I guess just my lens on it is: are they going to get any easy goals? It just feels like everything is hard work.
It's hard work. That's
it's
my
hard
point.
work. So I look at Sydney and I go, well, they're probably going to get an easy goal or two from Warner. Heaney's probably going to go and kick you up. Papley's probably going to kick a couple of. He's going to get a free kick for head high. He's going to go back and kick an easy goal. I look at Port and go, gee whiz, 51 entries and everything was hard work and you needed some Willie Rioli brilliance, or you needed Jace Berger on a drift down from a wing, or you needed Georgiades to kick a couple of really clutch set shots from the boundary line. I don't know.
Last time they played-
Is there any easy goals?
Well, it comes from the midfield, because the last time they played, Drew Wines, Butters, Rosie and Horn Francis had 147 disposals. Goulden, Heaney, Warner, Adams, who played in the midfield on that day, and Rowbottom had 97. So plus 50 from their midfield. That's where this game is.
Is won and lost, John.
And they'll have confidence, the Port midfield, to be able to maybe do this again against the Sydney Swans. And what that sort of led to was a domination in inside 50s, in clearances, in contested possessions, uncontested possessions. And marks was the big one, I think, with Port Adelaide plus 27, plus 18 marks inside forward 50, and plus 6 contested marks. That's the spot that I think the Swans have to really try and control, is one, their uncontested marks and going with them on outlet, but also the marks inside 50. So it's on the defensive unit for the Swans and the contested mark side of things. Because the last game we watched with the Sydney Swans,
Yep.
Gerard, we saw that they were very vulnerable 0 to 20 metres out from
Super
goal.
vulnerable. They
So
get very
the,
nervous.
The amount of times they dropped marks, dropped easy opportunities. So that's where I think Charlie Dixon comes into it. Because if I was Ken Hinkley, I'd be like, Charlie, you're 0 to 20. This is your
Put your
role.
hands in the air.
You have to be at every single contest 0 to 20. And this ball cannot be marked in that vicinity of the ground. Because once it gets to the deck, then Port Adelaide may have some confidence if they've got the right players at ground level to clean it up. The last time they played, Rampy, Malik and Parker, Papley, Amati and McInerney didn't play for the Swans. So that adds obviously immediately some depth and experience to their lineup. Kane, one interesting one that I've got for you is, will Ken Hinkley start all his stars on the ground in this game? Now, I understand final one, it was Horn Francis that started on the bench, and then last week he started Butters on the bench.
Yeah.
Does he scrap that for this week to allow his stars to be on the ground at the start of this game against a midfield that obviously they need to once again get on top of early in this game?
Yeah, I've been urging him to do that, and I've probably had to adjust my thinking a little bit. So I'd love all three to start on the ground. I don't think all three need to start centre bounce. Sort of, I'd been saying. I think
I agree with that.
They would have the numbers on this. Like Josh Carr would be all over our most successful combination, what leads to clearance, what leads to scores, and who in there at that time is the best combo. And maybe it's not the three, and clearly it's probably not.
This was a big issue 2 weeks ago when they started him there.
Yeah, when they started Horn Francis. But
Yeah.
I think it's fine to start them all on the ground, and I'd probably start Horn Francis forward. I'd get him to come up to stoppage, see what they want to do. They're going to come all the way with him and crowd the stoppage. Are they going to drop off, which will generate the spare? If they do that, you let Horn Francis try and run amok a little bit and win clearance and kick the ball inside forward 50 and then see how Sydney respond. But I think Drew's in good form. Wines is in good form.
Are you concerned about the cramp of Corn Francis?
Yeah, I look, it's similar to the Harley Reid discussion. I just think
It's a bit
something
deeper into the season than Harley
you
Reid, though.
coach them, yeah, but 87% game time, which would be his highest for the year. Like they kept him out there because they needed to, and that's an area that he'll need to look at in the off-season. How can I make sure that I'm capable of playing 92, 95% game time if I need it in a big final? Because with 2 minutes to go, he was a liability.
Yeah, but you don't want to lose his explosiveness. And this is the problem. If you keep on getting more endurance, you can sometimes kill off your explosiveness, which is his number one asset.
Yeah. So the model's Dangerfield, isn't it? Like Dangerfield's the exact model, and he's been able to do that. And when he's not in the midfield, he's able to. I think Horn Francis is a better forward than Dangerfield and more damaging. And he's a better kick. Like, he's clearly not the finished product yet.
No, he's a beautiful kick.
But I think that the way that the Cats have used Dangerfield would be the right model. Hey, Johnny, you want to speak about the metres gained masters?
Oh, yeah, I love this. It's my favourite stat in the game. I love the metres gained. I think
What's your unfavourite stat? Mine is
What's your
rebound
favourite
50.
stat?
It's a nonsense.
What's your favourite, Gerard?
Tackles are my worst stat.
My favourite, Hoyne's ratings is my favourite.
All right, Johnny, why is this your favourite?
Oh, because I love a player that goes forward with the ball, who got plenty of run and carry in the way that they play the game as well. So going through each team, who is your metres gained master left to play in the home and away season, and what that looks like from an opposition point of view. So if we start with the Catters, it's Max Holmes. We all understand that he averages 559 metres a game, which is significant. His best result this year was 768, which is a little bit lower than I thought. I thought he might have been up closer to a K with his metres throughout
Super
this
damaging
season.
player now.
But
Can I hold you? Just pause. They need to put serious work into Max Holmes. I'm not sure any team ever has put. I'm talking serious in his face. Don't let him stand alone. Block his run.
Who puts the
make
work
it
into
hard.
it?
Berry.
Well, Berry's the
Gabby
one.
Berry?
Like, Berry doesn't have the leg speed of home. That often that doesn't matter. Berry is the one that can be. He's strong for him at stoppage. He'll be all over. They've just got to put
I'd aim
so
for
much.
someone
on.
else.
If I was
for
Max
someone else in
Holmes-
yes, no with Jono, but I'll let you.
Okay,
answer that
if
later.
I was Max Holmes, I'd go back and watch Andrew McLeod's final series in 97, 98. Seriously, because
Definitely.
the opposition were trying to put as much as they could into Andrew
Yep.
McLeod, and he was unstoppable because of positioning. And that's what set him up to be able to create that run from behind, the explosiveness that he's got. And Max Holmes could learn from someone like what an Andrew McLeod has done in
He was the
throughout his.
master.
What a player.
McLeod would set up just off the back of stoppage, and he'd know, and he'd get you in front, so he could go either way and lose his opponent. First handball receive off the stoppage, and then lights out. You can't catch the guy. And one of the best finishers so Ablett Jr. is the best finisher I've seen on the run from just inside or just outside 50. McLeod, well and truly in that category. I think that's an excellent point for Max. So try and get some VHS tapes or some DVDs of Andrew McLeod and fire up the DVD player.
I've got an old video recorder at home. I'll drop it off to Max's place so we can watch the tape. Dane Zorko's the next one. Sorry, so he averaged 5.03, best result of 8.53 earlier in the year for Zorko. He was interesting last week, Dane Zorko, because he actually cost them 4 goals. GWS did put some time into him with Peatling, but where they put time into him was at forward stoppage. So they blocked Zorko to allow Peatling to come through, kick 2 goals on him. He cost him a couple more. Then in the second half, he started to get going.
He just went forward.
Well, he ran forward, and they went with him, and he was able to kick a couple himself and bridge that gap between what he'd done defensively and let the team down versus getting back in a positive fashion. So,
what would your advice be to Rayner, man?
In what regard? Just to get involved in the game more.
Well, he's had great games, and he's had some not so great games.
He has the gap. There is a gap, isn't there? But in terms of that performance,
is that the position he plays? You get the gaps. I mean, it's used to be what they used to call the half-forward flank.
No, I don't agree with that.
No,
I don't.
Not in this era where you can go anywhere.
Football graveyard.
It was a graveyard.
It is for some that get that mindset.
But you can go up. I mean, he's allowed to go up to the stoppage. I got that confirmed last night.
Well, they're the flexibility and they're the things that he needs to do. I know he was in centre bounce late and actually worked for Brisbane.
Yeah.
In that last quarter, he was able to get some really strong clearances, and maybe it's that. Maybe it's a couple of those represent a couple of times in the centre bounce in each quarter, which he's got the ability to do.
The full license. If you see the ball in the air, go and sit on someone's head. I want you to play with as much flair as you possibly can. So just allow him to play with that freedom. Up to stoppage, handball receive, be selfish, demand the ball, go for your marks. And he could be the difference this week. Jono, who do you think needs a powerful performance this weekend?
Powerful performance. I think we're looking at someone who's completely down that needs a powerful performance. Charlie Cameron is one that needs a powerful performance
happened to him this
for the
year,
Brisbane Lions. He kicked a couple last week, but still
you know,
wasn't lively in his approach to the contest, which we're so used to. So, and I know it's been a challenging year for him, and he hasn't found that spark consistently. But what they did in the second half there, the good part about the Brisbane Lions last week was they kicked 4-10 in the first half, and it was going to be the conversation around conversion again. And they come out in the second half and kick 11 goals, 5. So is that the turning point on conversion that they need? But in particular, Charlie Cameron needs to fire.
I just on Charlie Cameron, can I just tell a quick war story? Coach Mark Williams, when a player as talented as Charlie Cameron, he used to get them on the vision on the Monday review, and when they didn't have the ball and they were chasing, he'd show that, and then he'd show the contrasting vision of when they were a chance to get the footy. And he'd say, are you telling me you are running as fast as you would if you were going to get the football as you are when you're chasing that opponent?
It's fatiguing, Cornesy. When you're running to get the ball, it fatigues you the other way.
First quarter, I'm not watching Charlie Cameron. I'm going, you are the fastest footballer on the planet. There is no way you are running as fast as you would if you were about to get a Joe the Goose over the top, running into an open goal and kicking a left foot snap. That's as simple as it may be for Charlie to get him going, because I don't know, there's something just off with his performance, Gerard, and maybe he turns one on and the MCG is singing along to a goal like they were on grand final week, and away we go.
Well, I think they're going to need all their stars to play well. As Gerard Waitley says, you need your stars. And I think
we got that audio yet?
We'll
we were chasing that last night. You need your stars.
You need your stars.
How good.
And they do need their stars. I mean, we saw all the stars. They looked lame last week. It just looked like that game was played for the Brisbane Lions. They were in second gear, and then all of a sudden, bang, they found their top gear. So they're going to need some inspiration along the line, like everybody. The same down at Geelong. Or same with the Geelong players. They're going to need their best to play super footy. The one battle I'm looking forward to is between the ruckman in Sydney.
In Sydney, Grundy versus Sweet.
Grundy versus Sweet, because Sweet has found the sweet spot. And he was superb. 7 score
Terrific.
involvements last week.
The rundown, the chase.
Was really good. And, I mean, that is why Grundy's been good when he's had some poor games and he's had a lot of good games. But when he's at his best, he's involved in all elements.
It's going to be an intriguing battle. It really is. We spoke about the midfield numbers before, and of those ruckmen that get their hit-outs right and allow their opposition allow their team, I should say, to get at least first run at it.
Yep.
Is extremely important, especially forward. I think especially forward for the Sydney Swans, if they can